Hey everybody, Zandy. Welcome to We Love to Camp. This week we're going to be talking about tools. Tools that you need to have when you're camping, tools that you should have, tools that you want to have but you don't really need them. We'll talk about that too. Also, there's times where you can go cheap and there's times where you really shouldn't. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. This is insane. This is the first time that ball of light has shone like this since before Christmas, since that nasty storm. Matter of fact, this is the first time I've come out to look at the camper, make sure it didn't get blown over. Just like the rest of the country, we had, 50, 60 mile an hour winds, wind chills of 40 below. It was good stuff. But I come out here, everything looks great, so cool. Thing I hate is that I can't park into the wind. I have to park sideways like this and the wind's blowing on it like that. I don't like that. But at least we've got other vehicles here that help block the wind. So, like I said, we're going to talk about tools. Now, I'm a bit of a tool snob, I will admit it. I've got a whole bunch of snap-on stuff. I was a diesel mechanic for 20 years. I don't do that anymore, so now they're all at home. I've got a bunch of Harbor Freight tools also. Now, if you've never heard of Harbor Freight, they're pretty awesome. It's the world's cheapest tools, and they're actually halfway decent. They used to have a big problem with the quality control, but now it's actually catching up and it's not too bad. They're huge. They used to be internet sales and catalog sales, but now they're actually opening brick and mortar stores and they're making a killing. Let's get to this. I'm going to break it down into a few different things. One of the things you need, must have, is blowout tools. I carry this old black bag and it has most of what I need for if I have a blowout. I don't even know where this bag came from. I've had it for, I don't know, at least 20 years. You got two different kinds of jacks. Well, there's a lot more, but two that you should consider. You've got a hydraulic floor jack and a hydraulic bottle jack. The floor jack is better. It lifts more weight, it's more stable, but they're huge. They are a pain and they don't lift in a straight line. You've got, this is the saddle that actually does lifting and it picks up and it moves like this, while a bottle jack just goes straight up. So when you're on the side of the road, and these things don't really have brakes that you can set, you can pull the emergency brake pin, that'll help stabilize it. The bottle jack is preferred, my opinion. So what I've got here is just some cheap, well, they're not cheap. I got this at Napa back in 2007. It's just nothing special. Typical bottle jack. And it's nice that it has a plastic case. That's great. But it holds the two little handles, which you need, of course, to make the handle to jack it and also to release the pressure. We'll go over how to use these later on, another day, because I'm going to show you a good way to jack up the wheels. The manufacturer doesn't tell you to do it this way, but it works better than what they tell you to do. Also, you need a tool to take the wheel off, tire iron. I usually recommend getting one of the 4-ways. I've got something a little bit better. Same trip when I bought that bottle jack, I bought this. I went out to Seattle and I bought an old Suburban and drove it back here to Ohio. And where was I? I was somewhere in the middle of the country when I realized I had a tire getting ready to go and I had no spare and I had no tools. So I had to fix that real quick. But this, it extends. Then the sockets have different size sockets on either end, and you just pop it on there and boom. This is actually a great tool. I wish I could tell you where to get one. I don't think it was at Napa that I got this. I see no name brand. I don't even see it made in USA or made in Canada or anything. But this thing's great. You get all this leverage, it collapses down to a small size, and it's never done me wrong. Granted, I've only used it a few times. Then Something else you really should have, and a lot of people won't tell you this, but when you're on the side of the road, these idiots fly by you at 80 miles an hour. You've got this big, ginormous camper on the side of the road. They don't give you any room. So you need some kind of a marker, especially if you're out at night. Having a high visibility vest, not a terrible idea. It doesn't take up any room, it doesn't take up any weight, and hopefully you never need it. But there you go, see? Hardly any space. But you also need some kind of identification that you're on the side of the road. Flares was the old standard. I wouldn't be crazy about carrying flares in a travel trailer. Something about just striking and having fire. No, I'm good. They got those little chem lights now. You crack them open and shake them. Those are okay. But once you set them on the ground, it's just a little tiny red thing on the ground. Nobody can see it, especially when they're doing 80 miles an hour. So I bought these. This is what the truckers use. I bought this on Craigslist, again, 100 years ago. Never used, and I've never used it either. This is the point where my audio died. The batteries in my microphone kit just decided to flatline on me, and I spent another 30 minutes, 40 minutes making video with zero sound. So from here on out, it's all going to be voiceover, and I've kind of got to guess at some of the stuff I was saying. I know there's going to be stuff that I missed and that's not going to be included because I don't remember, because I don't really have a script to go by or anything like that. So I'm sure I'm going to miss stuff. I'm going to try and put stuff in the comments when I realize that I forgot it. I've made sure that my stuff is charged up now though. While I've got you here, why don't you go ahead and click the like, subscribe, and drop a comment or two. We've been getting plenty of views, well, considering it's the beginning of the channel, but we've been getting plenty of views and no comments and no subscribers. So show me a little love and tell me that you're out there. Tell me what tools you like to use that you feel are must-haves, what tools of mine are not needed, and tell me where I'm screwing up. So on to the video. Now it's going to be voiceover with me out there moving my mouth with no sound. Great. So these things can be a pain to fold back up, but they are probably the safest warning signals out there. And I was surprised to see exactly how cheap they are. Here they are for $16 online. Not bad. Now this one, you might think it's a little frivolous, but this is a huge lifesaver. It's a time saver. It's a back saver. Now this one is a name brand one. It's not the cheapest, but there are some cheaper alternatives. But I can show you exactly how this is the better choice. I'm talking about a 1/4 inch impact. This is a Milwaukee. This is not a cheap one. I think it goes for $100 and some without the battery. You grab a Duradyne with a 3/8 drive on the end of it. You get yourself a 3/4 inch socket. I prefer a deep well for this. You don't need it though. And slap it in the impact. Now you've got a tool for the levelers, for the stabilizers. It also fits on the X chocks. You don't want to go hammering on either of them, but this will get it down and get a little bit of tension on it. You could use this, and if you hate yourself, because that will take forever. Or zip zip. And then I keep a bag over here. It's got all kinds of Duradynes and fittings, different sizes. I got different drives for the sockets, all kinds of stuff. Use it for taking off the tire. Don't use it for torquing, but use it for speed. Like right here, an extension with a Phillips, long distance. Here we go. Yeah, there's one for like $87 there without a battery. So then I keep, this one is mostly for tools I take into the house with me, tools I don't want to leave at the house, or don't want to leave at the camper, excuse me. But I just looked on Marketplace today, and there's one for $15, and here's 2 brand new Craftsman bags, and they only want $25 for them. You can find them cheap. So I know that bag goes home. I know that bag is for roadside emergencies, so on and so forth. It's a little system, and it works. This style of bag is great though. They're tough, they hold all kinds of stuff, and they're fairly secure. Now here I've got more bits and Duradynes and whatever you could have. I've got a little bit of everything in here. Now this is very easy to lose, the little Duradyne piece, so I keep it, and I keep the socket, and I keep it in the camper. I'd never take it out. Now let's talk about lighting. The ones that fits over your head with a little spotlight, those things work great. Here you go. You see a huge price range. This is at Harbor Freight. Now one of them costs $33, the other one's $2.50, but they both have good marks. I'd go with the expensive one personally. But the thing I love about them is that they put the light directly where you're working. If you're looking down, it's aimed down. If you're looking left, it's aimed to the left. But even though as good as those things are, I end up using this. It's more of a floodlight. And again, it's not cheap, but it will light up everything. Now here is another one, a different brand, and you know, $50. It's half the price. And plus, this one is rechargeable as opposed to having batteries. But I do love this thing. For example, if you're on the side of the road changing that tire, you set it down and you light up the entire side of the camper. This one goes home with me. I use it in the woodshed. There's no lighting in there. Now here, yeah, tape measure. You don't need a nice one like, you know, yeah, that's a work one, but just a cheapo will do. It'll come in handy. You'll need it one day. Just don't lose it. Now, a hammer. You'll need this. Yeah, it looks excessive, but trust me, you'll need it. That's the Bang Bang. Yeah, the wife got me a Tap Tap. I've never used that one yet. But it's tiny and I've got it, so whatever. Screwdrivers, a couple flathead, couple Phillips, 3 of each, whatever. Like I said, I usually use the impact more. Now you need wrenches, but a little crescent wrench and a big old boy. I haven't needed this one yet, but if I need to work on my hitch, I'm ready. That's right. This thing is big enough to do that. May not have enough torque, enough leverage, but then I can always put a cheater pipe on there and just pull on it and just go to town. It'll work. Channel locks. You can use pliers, but I prefer the channel locks. Some vice grip or locking pliers isn't a bad idea. I've never needed them, but it's not bad. Allen wrenches. Our last camper, I needed Allen wrenches. I went out and bought these. They were fairly cheap. And I decided to keep them in the box out here because they're complete sets. The ones at home, they're not complete sets. No matter how hard I try, look at that. There isn't a single one missing. So they stay in the toolbox, in the camper, and they don't go home. Know your limitations and your shortcomings. Now, I don't want to carry a big old roll of wrenches. That gets heavy, it gets bulky, and besides, sockets are better anyways. These are a bit over the board, over the top. Yes, they're snap-on, leftovers from when I worked, complete with a floppy head. I love that ratchet. It's a locking floppy head on top of that. But a couple extensions also, but they're great. They're a duplicate set, so it's not like I'm shorting myself in the shop. But a regular old cheap Harbor Freight one will do. Now, multimeter. This will save you money and time. If you don't know how to use it, you can figure it out pretty quick with some YouTube videos. We'll go over it sometime here soon also. We will be using this. Yes, this is an expensive one, and I very much prefer it, but I've had this since 95, maybe 94. It's a very good piece. It's a Fluke, and I don't know how much it was. It was issued to me when I was in the Army. But they will show you what's going on with the 12 volt system and the 115 volt system, and you can use both. You can troubleshoot both systems with this one tool. Also, it will show you ohms, which is resistance, and continuity, which is resistance but different. And it's a great tool. You really need one. You can get a cheap one. This is the one that actually stays in the camper. It needs a battery right now though, but it does everything that the better one does. And here's a couple, look at that, $7. I've actually heard good things about that $7 one. Again, this is Harbor Freight. Now, see, you can get crazy. There's some Flukes that are like $1,000. You don't need those. Then you're going to need some supplies. You're going to need some zip ties. Always get the black zip ties. The white ones get brittle when they've been in the sun. Some string or rope always comes in handy, especially if you have a hammock. Don't forget the thread tape. When you're using the anode rod on the water heater, you'll need this every time you put that rod back in. And, you know, it's only like 49 cents for something like this. So, yeah. Duct tape, you'll want to go ahead and not do the duct tape because it gets nasty, but electrical tape is good. Ratchet straps, you need those. Always need ratchet straps. And then, you know, just, you don't need a big expensive toolbox. You know, I recommend the plastic ones like here, and you see, you can get it pretty cheap. The plastic ones, they hold up to the abuse these days. They're not junk, and they don't damage your trailer when you toss it in there. I happen to have an old metal one lying around, ancient Craftsman, so I went ahead and put it to use. It had been sitting around for 10 or 20 years without being used at all, just collecting dust. But I'm a hoarder, so that's how it goes. A can of WD-40 is a good idea. You could use something better like PB Blaster, but it smells funny. So that's up to you, of course, obviously. WD-40 works okay in some situations. Basically, there's little tools you'll need to pick up every time you go out. And you can go to a dollar store, you can go to a General Dollar. They always have those places around campgrounds for some reason. And of course, there's always Walmart. But, you know, if you're getting all these tools, these battery tools, you'll want a couple extra tools. And a battery charger to keep in the camper is good. I've got one in the camper, I've got one at the house, I've got one in the shop. So I'm ready to charge these suckers anywhere. Some of those Milwaukee tools that we priced were for tool only. That's without a battery, that's without a charger. But once you get enough going on, you don't need more. Now this thing is gold. You just snap it on top of a battery, and it's got a USB port on it, and you plug in, there you go, see the USB port, you plug in, and then, you know, boom, you're charging your phone. Or, in this case, get it turned on. Yeah, there we go. In this case, I'm charging my iPad. Remotely. No electricity. That's great if you're laying out in the hammock and your phone dies. And see, look at that. It's only $17. Well, $18. That's Amazon. That's a must-have in my opinion. Now, this is a bit of a stretch in tools that you need, but it's definitely a tool you'll want. This is a battery-powered fan. That's great. Laying in the hammock or sitting in your chair out in the sun or underneath the canopy, have it blowing on your face. It's great. No extension cords needed. Then, you know, if you got a campfire going and you got smoke coming all at you, just blow the smoke away with that. And I mean, it's awesome. And now here is one that I did. I turned the head down and I aimed it underneath the fire ring. The air went underneath and it blew the flames up. Made a beautiful bonfire. And then, you know, unfortunately, I melted the fan. It still works. All I got to do is, you know, slap the battery in there all the way, and it turns on and blows. But it's junk. Yes, it's $100, but they are great to have. And always have extra batteries. You'll need to protect yourself. You need to protect your hands. You don't want to be bleeding or have nasty abrasions, whatever. Gloves. I like those neoprene ones I was just wearing, the neoprene with the cloth on the back. Those are great for the majority of the work that you'll be doing out here. I wear them when I'm setting up, when I'm tearing down, you know, anything, I wear them. Then I also have some heavy leather ones. I use that for, you know, when I'm connecting and disconnecting the camper to the truck. That's like great protection, but then you have no fine motor skills with them. But it works great, and it's not something to laugh at. It's kind of important. You know, I don't want to get stitches when I'm out camping. Kind of put a damper on the whole weekend. Then there's also the neoprene, not neoprene, but the rubber gloves, like medical gloves. You'll want a box of 2 of those for when you're dealing with the poop slinky. You know, but that's for another video. And ew, but you'll want them. That's to protect you and protect everybody else from you and your bacteria on your hands. Now, something that I haven't shown you is a tire pump, and that's because I wore mine out and just threw it away a month ago and have yet to replace it. It's a very important tool. I had the kind that you plug into the cigarette lighter or PowerPoint, whatever you call it, in the truck, and run out and hooked up to the tire and let it rip. But like I said, I wore that one out, and I'm probably going to get the same style as that. Milwaukee has one that you use a battery. It works slow, but it works remote. You don't have to pull the truck up right beside the camper to use it. But again, that's not cheap, and I can't quite justify it yet. So, like I said, I know I missed things. Oh, yes, electrical tools. We're going to go over electrical tools at another point. Crimp-ons, crimper tools, strippers, and electrical tape, all that's important to carry with you also. We'll go over that on another episode, though. We touched on it when we did the blue lights up on the roof, but we'll go over it in depth later. So, like I said, I know I'm forgetting stuff. I know I'm leaving stuff out. Drop it in the comments. I'll try and drop it in the comments as it comes back to me. But, basically until then, I guess it's time to pack up and get out of here and get home before the sun goes down. So, if I don't see you until next time, see you at the campgrounds.